You're watching Story Scroll. Real stories, raw emotions, and endings you'll never forget. Let's scroll into today's tale.
Original post. I never thought I'd be posting here, but I honestly don't know if I'm overreacting or if what just happened to me is as messed up as it feels. I'm still kind of in shock, so sorry if this is long. My parents divorced when I was young. It wasn't pretty, but one thing I'll always give my dad credit for is that he never disappeared. He paid child support on time, showed up when he could, and even when things were tense with my mom, he always made it clear that I mattered to him. When I was a kid, he told me he wanted me to have opportunities he didn't have, especially when it came to education. When I was around 8 or 9, he started putting money aside for my college. I didn't know the exact amount growing up, just that there was a college fund and that it was meant for me. He never bragged about it or used it to guilt me. It was just there, a safety net, something that made me feel secure about my future. My mom remarried when I was a teenager. My stepfather came into my life with his own daughter, my stepsister, who was only about a year older than me. From the start, the dynamic was clear, even if no one ever said it out loud. My mom's biggest priority was keeping the peace. She hated conflict and would bend herself into knots to avoid arguments, especially with my stepfather. He, on the other hand, had no problem speaking his mind. He was never outright cruel to me, but the favoritism was subtle and constant. His daughter got better gifts, more attention, more patience. If there was only money for one extracurricular, it was hers. If someone messed up, I was expected to be the mature one. I learned pretty quickly that pushing back would only cause tension, and my mom would always ask me to be understanding. Fast forward to now, I recently got my college acceptance letter. It wasn't an Ivy League or anything, but it was a solid school I worked really hard to get into. I was excited, nervous, proud. I brought it home and showed my mom and stepfather, expecting at least a little celebration. At first, everything seemed normal. My mom smiled and hugged me. My stepfather said, "That's nice." Then I started talking about tuition and housing and mentioned that I'd need to sit down and look at the college fund details soon so I could plan properly. That's when the mood shifted. My mom suddenly got quiet. My stepfather wouldn't look at me. They exchanged this look that made my stomach drop. I remember thinking, why do they look guilty? I asked what was wrong. My stepfather sighed and said very casually, "Well, about that money, it's already gone." I honestly thought he was joking. I even laughed a little and said, "What do you mean, gone?" He explained, like he was talking about borrowing sugar from a neighbor, that he had used the money to pay for my stepsister's tuition. Apparently, she'd already started college, and they needed it more at the time. I felt like the room was spinning. I asked how he could even access that money. He said that since he was married to my mom and the account was connected through her, he was able to handle it, like that made it okay. I asked why no one told me. That's when he started justifying it. "Family helps family," he said. "You can take out loans like everyone else." He even added, "Your dad can help you again if he really wants to." I looked at my mom, waiting for her to say something, waiting for her to tell him he crossed the line, waiting for her to defend me. Instead, she sighed and said, "Your stepsister needed it more at the time. You're being selfish right now." Selfish? She told me that this family shares resources and that I should be happy I still can go to college, even if it means loans, that plenty of people do it and survive. She said I was causing drama over money. That's when it hit me that this wasn't a last-minute decision. She knew. She had known ahead of time and agreed to it. I tried to explain that this wasn't just family money. This was money my dad saved specifically for me. It wasn't meant to be split or reassigned. It wasn't theirs to give away. My stepfather snapped. He told me he doesn't get a say anymore. I'm the man of this house now. He told me I should be grateful they didn't leave me with nothing. My stepsister overheard the argument from the hallway. She didn't look embarrassed or apologetic. She just smirked and said something like, "Well, I needed it. You'll figure it out." That broke something in me. I went to my room and just sat there staring at the wall. All I could think about was how carefully my dad had planned for my future, how safe that fund made me feel, and how easily it was taken away without anyone even asking me. I feel betrayed by my stepfather, who clearly never saw me as anything but secondary, by my stepsister, who feels entitled to something that was never hers, and most of all, by my mom, who chose keeping the peace over protecting her own child. So now I'm looking at massive student loans, possibly having to delay or change my plans, and completely rethinking my relationship with the people I live with. I've even thought about dropping out for a year or cutting contact entirely once I move out. They keep telling me I'm selfish, that I'm overreacting, that it's just money. But it doesn't feel like just money. It feels like my future was stolen and handed to someone else with my mom's full support. So here I am asking strangers on the internet, do I tell my real dad what happened? Am I overreacting for feeling like I was robbed? Because right now, I don't know what to think anymore.
Update 1. First of all, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. I didn't expect that many responses, and I definitely didn't expect strangers on the internet to be more protective of me than my own family. I read every comment, even the harsh ones, and a lot of you said the same thing over and over. Tell your dad. I didn't want to at first. That might sound stupid, but I felt guilty. My mom kept saying I'd destroy the family if I told him. My stepfather said my dad would just use it as an excuse to cause drama. A small part of me was scared that if I told my dad, he'd be disappointed in me for not protecting the funds somehow, even though logically I know that doesn't make sense. Still, the fear sat in my chest for days. I barely slept. Every time I looked at my college acceptance letter, I felt sick. Eventually, the guilt turned into anger, and that anger finally pushed me to act. I called my dad. At first, I didn't even know how to start. I told him I got into college, and he was happy and proud, like always. Then I told him there was a problem with the college fund. He went quiet. I explained everything, how my stepfather admitted the money was gone, how it was given to my stepsister, and how my mom supported it. At first, my dad was calm, too calm. He asked very specific questions: who accessed the account, when it happened, how much was taken, and what exactly my mom said. I could hear him breathing slowly on the other end of the phone. Then he got angry. I've never heard my dad like that before. He didn't yell at me, not once, but his voice changed, sharp, controlled, furious. He told me something that shocked me. The college fund wasn't just some casual savings account. It was legally protected and set up so that it could only be used for my education. My stepfather had absolutely no right to touch it. And then came the part that hurt almost as much as the betrayal itself. My mom signed documents she shouldn't have. According to my dad, the only way that money could have been accessed was through misrepresentation or misuse of authority. In plain terms, rules were broken, possibly laws. The next day, my dad contacted a lawyer, then the bank. He didn't waste time. Within 48 hours, things escalated faster than I ever imagined. The bank started an internal investigation. The lawyer asked for records, signatures, timelines. My dad kept me updated, but reassured me constantly, saying, "You will not lose your education. I promise you that." For the first time since this started, I felt like I could breathe. Meanwhile, my stepfather found out what was happening. I came home one afternoon to a completely different man than the one who told me to take loans like everyone else. Suddenly, he was polite, careful. He asked how my day was. He even tried to joke with me like nothing had happened. Then he sat me down and said we needed to talk like adults. He claimed it was all a misunderstanding. He said the money was only meant to be borrowed temporarily and that they were always planning to pay it back. He said my dad was overreacting and trying to punish them. Here's the thing, though. My stepsister is already enrolled. Her tuition was paid, she's living on campus, buying new things, posting about her college glow-up online. There was no plan to pay anything back. When I pointed that out, he got quiet. My mom, on the other hand, completely fell apart when she realized this was turning serious. She cried constantly. She begged me not to ruin the family. She said she didn't understand the legal consequences and thought it was just money. She told me she never imagined things would go this far. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt numb. All those years of her telling me to be understanding, to be patient, to sacrifice for peace, it finally clicked. I was never her priority. I was the easiest one to give up something. Things got worse quickly. The bank froze multiple accounts connected to my stepfather. My stepsister was notified that her tuition payment was under review, meaning she could lose her enrollment if the money was reclaimed. My stepfather's job found out about the investigation, and now his position is under review too. People started talking. Extended family found out. Friends of the family started asking questions. The image my stepfather cared so much about started cracking. That's when he exploded. He cornered me one night and screamed that this was all my fault, that I was selfish, that I had destroyed everything they worked for. He said if I had just stayed quiet, none of this would have happened. And in that moment, something became very clear to me. I was never loved for who I was. I was valued only as long as I stayed silent and useful. The next morning, I packed a bag and went to stay with my dad. He didn't hesitate for a second. He told me I was safe, that he had my back, and that none of this was my fault. My mom has been calling nonstop. Voicemails, texts, missed calls, all of them asking me to fix something I didn't break. There's a court date pending now. Everything is officially in motion, and there's no undoing it. I don't know how this will end yet. I just know that telling my dad was the right decision, even if it cost me the illusion of a family. I'll update again when I know more.
Final update. This will be my last update. A lot has happened, and while it's been exhausting, painful, and surreal, I finally feel like I can breathe again. The court case is over. After weeks of investigations, paperwork, and meetings with lawyers, the ruling came down clearly and decisively. The judge ruled that my stepfather committed fraud and misuse of funds. The college account was never his to touch, and the way he accessed it violated both banking rules and legal agreements tied to the account. There was no ambiguity about that. As for my mom, the court found her complicit through negligence at best and willful cooperation at worst. She signed documents she shouldn't have, ignored warnings she didn't want to hear, and enabled everything that followed. Hearing that out loud in a courtroom hurt more than I expected, even though I already knew it was true. The college fund was fully restored. Not only that, but damages were added. Legal fees, penalties, and additional compensation were ordered to be paid back into the fund. My education is secure. I'll be able to attend the school I worked so hard to get into without drowning in debt, and that alone still feels unreal. My stepsister didn't get the same outcome. The money used for her tuition was reclaimed. She was given the option to take out loans, find alternative funding, or withdraw. Last I heard, she's taking loans and moved back home temporarily. She has sent me several messages blaming me for ruining her life, calling me selfish, heartless, and dramatic. I haven't responded. The fallout from my stepfather was complete. He lost his job shortly after the ruling. The investigation into his finances triggered reviews that went beyond just the college fund, and things unraveled quickly. He's now facing additional civil penalties, and depending on how things progress, there may be criminal consequences as well. The man who once told me to just take loans now can't even look people in the eye. My mom divorced him. Part of me wishes I could say it felt like justice, but mostly it just felt empty. She's financially wrecked. Legal fees, loss of shared income, and her own accountability in this situation left her scrambling. She's reached out repeatedly, asking to start over, saying she made mistakes, saying she chose wrong. Maybe she did, but she chose wrong over and over again, for years. The last time I saw my stepfather was outside the courthouse. There were people around, family friends, acquaintances, even a couple of distant relatives. He was angry, humiliated, and desperate to shift blame.
He raised his voice and said I chose money over family. He said I could have stopped everything if I just stayed quiet. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked past him. That moment felt like closure in a way I didn't expect, not because I won, but because I finally understood that nothing I said would ever make him take responsibility, and that wasn't my burden anymore. As for relationships moving forward, I am low contact with my mom. I haven't blocked her, but I've set firm boundaries. No guilt trips, no rewriting history, no pretending this was a misunderstanding. If we ever rebuild something, it will be slow and on my terms. And honestly, I don't know if that will ever happen. I am no contact with my stepfather. My stepsister and I have no relationship. I don't wish her harm, but I won't accept blame for consequences she benefited from willingly. My dad, through all of this, has been exactly who he's always been. Steady, protective, and calm. He never once made me feel like this was my fault. He told me he was proud of me, not for winning, but for standing up for myself when it mattered. I've started therapy. I didn't realize how much I'd normalized being the easy one, the one expected to sacrifice, until I said it out loud to someone who wasn't involved. I'm learning that peace at your own expense isn't peace at all. Here's what I've learned and why I wanted to post this final update. Real family shows up when it's uncomfortable. Real love doesn't ask you to disappear to make others comfortable, and blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. To everyone who told me to speak up, to protect myself, and to stop carrying guilt that wasn't mine, thank you. You were right. Silence doesn't keep families together. It just protects the people who are willing to take from you. They stole my future. I took it back.
Thanks for watching Story Scroll. Hit that bell and stay tuned for the next story that will move your heart.